Welcome to week 4, Raising and Managing Money.
And just to recap what we did so far, so we are already in week 4. The course have only 5 weeks, so remember this. So we're almost done. But you did in week 2, we did talk about entrepreneurial opportunities, how you identify multiple opportunities based on your technology. Remember that term, technological fungibility. Sounds fancy, but it actually means that you can apply your technology to multiple ends, multiple customer sets. We talked about evaluation of opportunities and developing a roadmap to exploit your multiple opportunities over time.
Right. Then in last week, week 3, we talked a lot about entrepreneurial marketing. We helped think about developing a marketing plan. We wanted to know who your customers are, what your value proposition is, and we talked about guerrilla marketing.
Which is actually quite an exciting form of marketing. It's more on the operational side. It should be aligned with your overall strategy. But there the underlying logic was that you actually said, okay, I have to be smart because I do not have so many funds like the larger corporations to run my marketing campaign.
Perfect. So let's look and see what we're going to cover in the next week. So as Mark just said, you may be running a guerrilla marketing campaign in a very lean operation, but it's still going to cost you to get your company off the ground. So in the first part of this week, we're going to study how much money do you need. So that's going to involve making some financial projections for the next few years and trying to understand how much cash you're spending and how much you're bringing in, and therefore what your overall financing needs are to get your company launched.
So in addition to doing the financial projections, you also have to know which type of financing is available from you, whom you could get the money that you need. So in terms of type of financing, you think about debt financing. You might even get gifts. You might get equity financing. There might be convertible debt. This might sound technical to some, but we're going to walk you in detail through each of these types of financing in segment 4.2. In addition, we look at the types of investors.
Right. So there'd be a big laundry list here of investors.
Which is good news because there are people who have money and want to invest.
There are lots of sources
Exactly.
for you. So what we'll do is we'll just walk through the big picture on the types of investors, and then we'll break it out by stage, which we'll discuss right now. So in 4.3, we'll focus on the early stages of your company before you're making any money and you're really launching your company, getting it off the ground. So what kinds of investors are going to be the most appropriate for those early stages?
Exactly. It could be your friends and your family, because they believe in you, they want to support you. It could also be crowdfunding campaigns, and that's quite an important element, especially in this MOOC today. It could be also startup competitions, it could be angel investors and early stage venture capitalists at some points.
So in 4.4, we'll focus more on the later stages of the venture process, when you've already got a product, when maybe you've already got some sales and you're basically growing the company. Then we have the expansion financing, and there's a whole new set of actors that are available to help finance your venture.
So think about family offices, think about banks, et cetera, because these are actors that want to see that you have a proof of technology and a proof of market, that there are customers out there who are willing to pay for your products and that your technology actually works and does the things you promise it does. Because then a lot of risk is taken off the table for these types of investors. And that means, these investors would be looking at companies that have a different risk profile than the investors that we just discussed on the previous slides, which would be more the investors that look at early stage companies and are ready there, available to actually invest in companies that are less mature and have more risk.
Right. So what we'll do is, for all of these, we'll walk through how much money you'd expect to raise, what the time horizon is, and lots of different aspects or psychological aspects of working with different types of investors.
Exactly. And the bottom line is that we want to give you a very good understanding of the funding universe that is out there, because without the funds of other people, you probably will not get far with your technology venture. So one important way of getting funding nowadays is crowdfunding. You remember that from the marketing module, we introduced you to this concept because it has important marketing elements to it. It helps you in launching your product, it helps you in getting visibility with your company, but that's one aspect. It has also a very, very important financial aspect to it.
That's right. I mean, entrepreneurs now can, via internet platforms, reach out to investors who happen to be all over the whole world. So what we'll do in this particular segment is we'll walk through how that works. We'll talk a little bit about some of the legal financial implications of having lots of investors all over the world and how you can expect to raise money from them, going to details about how some of the crowdfunding platforms work.
Exactly. And that's, I think, a wonderful opportunity for each and every one of you to get your venture off the ground and to make your first steps as an entrepreneur. So these crowdfunding campaigns give you access to potential investors across the globe, but never forget that actually you need to manage your cash, because this is, which is more like an operational issue, but it's highly important. It's like the air that you breathe. You know, the cash is the air that you breathe, because if you run out of cash, it's like running out of air that you breathe. And what happens if you run out of air when you breathe? You fall over and you die, you know. So this will happen to your company. You will just go bankrupt, you know. So managing your cash is our focus in module 4.6. And this has a couple of other issues that are related to it.
I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the burn rate. So how much you're spending relative to how much you have. We'll talk about having bank accounts, how to look for a bank, keeping your accounts separate. We'll talk a little bit about shrinkage, or your employees stealing from you, or you stealing from yourself by mixing your funds. And we'll go through a lot of details on how to manage your cash.
And conserve your air in that way. You know?
Right.
So
Conserving your air.
conserving your air.
So that's what's in your future for week 4 in raising and managing money. Don't go away.
Stay tuned.